Okay, everyone, welcome back to the Market Lead channel. Today I've got an amazing, I'm going to say friend now. We're already friends because we've been chatting for a good 20 minutes on the call, and I feel like we could have chatted for another hour before this because we already started going deep. So I've got Adrian Dekker here, absolute legend of Google Ads. Now, the reason I say that is because I learned from him significantly from his LinkedIn posts, all the free content he's putting out almost daily. It actually makes me feel like I'm falling behind because of all the advanced content he's putting out around enhanced conversions, strategies, G cleads, and offline conversions. It's just crazy. So I felt the need for myself, even personally, to reach out to him, have a chat because like Adrian's a legend, and I just want everyone else to see him. Obviously, they do because he's got 80,000 followers on LinkedIn. But if there's one person in the world who's not following him, this is the interview you should be watching. So, Adrian, great to have you on, mate. How's life?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Life's good. We got
Yeah.
just knocked out the Euro semifinals, so stayed up late and just end up losing. But it's another day, new chances, and maybe another Google Ads update.
Yeah, mate. Ideally, maybe someone can buy something from you today, you get a new client, and then your energy comes back up. There's always something in the world that can make you feel better. Soccer is,
Yeah,
there's more than soccer. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I'm from Australia, so soccer means not much here, but in Europe, it means a lot.
yeah, that's correct. Yeah, yeah. Maybe Google will give us more search term insights, and I will be happy. Or exclude keywords directly in PMX.
Yeah.
Just make me happy. Just fix that.
So, mate, I like I said, I do not have questions. I just want to have a conversation with you because you've been doing Google Ads for a long time. Your expertise is definitely there, and I just love when I chat to other Google Ads mates about this stuff and just seeing how deep we can go and how far we can go talking about things. So, recently you've been talking a lot about like, oh, you've been offline conversion tracking and off uploading that. So that's something I still have challenges with. And I'm sure that a lot of people ask for your guides because they're having challenges with it. Um, how have you found offline conversion tracking, like in terms of setting it up and the actual results itself? Like, what are your insights towards it?
Yeah, so the first thing that directly comes up in my mind is the videos that I send or the documents that I share. You have a lot of systems, right? So you have WordPress, you have Magento, for example, or maybe your own Wix, or maybe you have something custom made. So when I make videos, I'm like, oh yeah, but this is only for my own website.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I started my own website, to also tried all those things on my own website, and so that I could share them, right? But then I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, this is only on WordPress, and WordPress is open source and easy. I have plugins to create a data layer. So I'm already like, okay, everybody who follows me needs to have WordPress.
Yeah.
And then you have Shopify, of course. So the funny, and then you're searching online for the somebody to help you, and then you see, oh, but they are using, for example, Shopify, and I'm having another platform. So that's already one thing. Like, you have so many platforms, and yeah, even the videos that I make, it's like you already need to have a data layer, and if you can't use a plugin, for example, you
Yeah.
need to ask your developer maybe. So that's the first thing that comes up in my mind. You have a lot of different systems already to implement those things, and that creates already a lot of challenges.
Hmm. Google makes it seem like it's so easy to do offline conversion, like uploads or even enhanced conversions, but it's not. And even like watching your training, it's really difficult doing this stuff. And sometimes I notice a lot of advertisers, they feel like they're being left behind, like they're an idiot. But it's like, as you've just said, it's really tough because there's different platforms. You need developers to do it. It's not like you're obviously really smart, so you can do it and you teach people, but it is hard for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is, but it's the same for me. Like, I don't use Shopify example a lot. I'm used to a lot of WordPress websites, Magento. I did some Shopify, but I think Shopify is really big in the USA, for example.
Yeah.
So different systems, different outcomes. Like, if you can't do it yourself, you can of course hire a tracking agency, for example, and ask them to learn it or search online
Yeah.
for it. That's one thing you can do. But yeah, it's true. You have a lot of solutions. And the funny thing is that a company will always look at, okay, what's the best CMS system for my company, not for
Yeah.
their ads, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, when I started, for example, I have a paid newsletter right now. I just picked a platform that would work perfectly with the paid newsletter and not something that would work perfectly with ads, for example.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you have HubSpot, it's really easy. But a lot of small companies in the Netherlands don't have HubSpot. They have a
Yeah.
small solution that works for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And you were mentioning that just about America, because you're in Europe. Do you
Yeah.
find there's a lot of do people tend to use different softwares in Europe compared to in America, or is
I'm
it
not
mostly the
sure
same?
about the American market, but I know in the Netherlands we have different systems, also
Yeah.
systems that are better for companies that have a store. For example, we have
Yeah.
Lightspeed, or you have small CMS systems that are specialized in a certain category, like maybe the automotive sector or maybe a different sector.
Yeah.
But I think WordPress is big here,
Yeah.
and I
Awesome.
like WordPress. It's easy to work with.
Now, with your clients, when you work with clients, where do you mostly work with them? Are they in Europe as well, or do you have America or Australia? Like, just because 90%, like actually like 99% of my clients are either in America or Australia. I don't know if like because you're from Europe, people like kind of congregate to you because of that.
Yeah, so the first thing is the language, of course. So I speak Dutch, so I have a lot of Dutch clients, and then I speak English as well,
Yeah.
and I can type English. So I do English clients also. So I have one client in Australia. I have a few clients in the USA, um, some clients in England. Um, one German client. But for example, with Spanish clients, I can't speak the language, so
Yeah.
I'm looking at the ads and I'm like, okay, it's gonna cost me a lot of time. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I can help you in these areas. I can check your setup if you want, but writing
Yeah.
the ads, I don't think that will work. I can
Yeah.
ask ChatGPT, but I don't really know if it's correct language.
Mm.
So then I'm more hesitate, right? And if you have an English ads account, I'm okay with it. But if we have
Yeah.
Spanish or France, it's already another thing.
Yeah, and especially when you need to look at the search terms and other things in there, you need to actually understand linguistically different words mean different things, and even a translation can mean a very different intent. So
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. Obviously, 99% of the content put out there about Google Ads is in English. So people do like just go, oh, they fail to remember that Google Ads is like multilingual and runs in multiple countries as well. And sometimes you'll see like Arabic writing in your search term
Mhm.
report or some Chinese writing. Well, that's in Australia at least. But yeah, that's the thing. Like understanding words and search terms in the ads is really important because if it's off by a little bit, you could be missing out on something that's either wasting a lot of money or could make you a lot of
Yeah,
money as well.
100%.
So like I said, we're just having a general conversation. GDPR, that obviously would affect a lot of your clients. Is that correct?
Yeah, Europe is just a lot more stricter on the regulation.
Yeah.
So yeah, first of all, you have the consent policy, and yeah, that just um, you have less data right now. So
Yeah.
that's already one thing, and I don't think that we understand that a few years ago we had more data, right? It was better to steer. And I think the solutions with server side tracking, with offline tracking, they are just becoming more important. And
Yeah.
that's also what I'm seeing how Google is communicating with the advertisers. You get those messages. Make sure you implement enhanced conversions. Make sure you implement this tag. Make
Yeah.
sure you're measuring offline conversions. So yeah, that's just becoming more and more important. And if Google sends messages out, it's normally important for the revenue, and that can
Yeah.
be important for you also sometimes, not always, but it can also be important for you as an advertiser.
Yeah. It's really interesting because, like, all of my clients in Australia and America, we don't have to do GDPR. So it's like, I know there was a huge push for that in like all the European guys like yourself on LinkedIn. And for me, I'm like, Sounds, dude, it's a nightmare. And I know that's another one of your trainings. You keep putting a lot about that because it's super important and it's not easy to do. And I'd like to ask you a question. Since the GDPR rules came out, what was the difference in data that you noticed, like in terms of what was like less? Was it conversion data? Was it search terms? Like what was less apparent for people that weren't doing GDPR or even afterwards, even you doing it properly?
Yeah, the main thing is just the back end with the Google Ads interface. There's a bigger difference.
Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing. And also, when conversions are going down, a lot of the times everybody say consent mode. Just look at this date range, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's also hard to say if it's a trend, if it has to do something with COVID. Some people are still referring to their COVID time because that was such a crazy time for some
Yeah.
web shops.
Yeah.
Um, you just get a lot of changes, and you really, it's hard to compare even years right now with all these changes happening. And
Yeah.
I would say conversions, because everybody also looks at conversions, right?
Yeah. That's really interesting because you've mentioned a few things. There's uh, market shifts, like you said, COVID was like the best time of advertising history, and no one thought it was going to be. And then obviously we're going through like an economic recession now, and then GDPR. Google is changing their like the products and how they operate and trying to remove data. So there's so many parts that shift now with the GDPR. Are you mostly noticing it really affect e-commerce businesses or lead generation or both? I'm really curious.
I would say if it depends on the business, it's hard to say. Like if you have a lot of volume and a lot of visitors, you can use Google will use the conversion modeling model. So
Yeah,
you would have better data, right? So I think it's hard for B2B companies normally, because B2B companies I think have less volume. Not always. It depends on how big you are. I think
yeah,
it's more bigger companies versus smaller companies, and then you have conversion modeling. Um, yeah, it's just unfair again for smaller companies because they can't use the conversion modeling because they need a certain amount of clicks. I think it's 1,000 clicks per domain in 7 days,
yeah,
something like that. So that's annoying for small companies.
yeah.
My tip is just also look at your backend and maybe try to steer sometimes more with your backend and see what it's really doing.
Yeah. So, thanks for sharing that. I've always, it's so interesting just hearing other people's perspective because the work we do at Market Lead is about a third of our clients are lead generation to their website, a third of the clients are lead generation to a landing page we've built, and about a third of them are e commerce. So, uh, when you're sending traffic to obviously a website, there's sometimes minimal visibility on some advanced data. But when we run them to landing pages that we create, uh, I push through a lot of data that I probably shouldn't. So a lot of these platforms like Google Analytics, the Facebook Pixel, they don't want you to push in through UTM tags, not only of the source, well, the source is fine, but it's usually the personal's PII or personally identified information. Now, I'm a bit of a black hat or grey hat person. So when I'm doing landing pages, I push all that information through keyword, search term, campaign, ad group, all of that stuff, click ID, and then all the other data they're doing. So it pushes into a database Google Sheet that I build. So then I can get the in platform data, clicks, impressions, costs, impression shares, whatever. And then I've got real offline data, like not just like, with Google, it sometimes the attribution can be off. It's like the real numbers.
Yeah.
So then I actually have real data. And look, this has taken me 10 years to get to the point. It's actually quite a simple solution, but hard to implement for normal people. I've got a lot of clients we do it on, but that's how I work around it. But like, with all the GDPR, the consent, Google wanting to remove stuff, browsers not wanting you to push through UTMs or being cookieless, it's getting hard, like you said, like even server side tracking, like that's hard to implement. It does cost money, and
Yeah.
most people still won't do it.
Yeah, that's another thing, right? You're literally for cookie bot that I'm using, you need to pay money. For server side,
Yeah.
you need to pay money. So you're like, okay, so I'm getting less data, I'm seeing less results, and now I also have to pay more for these tools,
Yeah.
and they're not that expensive, but you need to pay every month for it, right? So it's
Yeah.
a month. It's just monthly money going out, and also some people just are they do not really. It's a personal topic for them. They're like, yeah, I don't really care about cookies. You can track everything from me. So they're more like, I don't want to use the consent mode. I don't care. And also, a lot of companies are not using it correctly. I see even big companies, and they will look at big companies. You have big companies in the Netherlands, and they will just say, accept all. It was accept all or decline, I think. And you need to
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
multiple options, and they're using even different colors, right? And it's also a bit of a gray area, but you can't nudge people really into it. It needs to have the same color, right?
Yeah.
And I think you also need to have the possibility in some countries to click on a close button, and then a lot of cookie banners don't have a close button. And
Yeah.
even you need to, if you want to change your mind, you need to have the possibility to change your mind. So when you go to another page and you accept it, you need to see on the low left, right, or somewhere else, you need to get the chance to just say, "Oh no, sorry, I don't want it."
Yeah. Man, that sounds like a nightmare. I'm so glad I haven't had to do that yet. I don't know if that will come to Australia and America, but man, that sounds like really
It's
annoying.
coming to Swiss right now,
Ugh.
and I don't. Everybody that I have spoken to says the same thing. They will start with finding bigger companies, I think, and then later on maybe smaller. But it's really hard. The internet is so big.
Yeah.
How are you going to do that, right? So I still see a lot of companies that just don't implement it, or if they implement it, they will still do some gray area things, right? And it's
Yeah.
up to them. It's their reputation, and it's what they want to
Uh,
do.
And what's the consequence of not doing it?
I If you not do it, the consequence is that Google can take some action. They're saying, but you know what the things with Google, they will not say we're going to control this many accounts or that. They're a bit vague about it, and I've even posted a few times about it, and then Ginny said no, we're not going to ban advertisers, and then I've spoken to some people, or they just did a post, and they said we can't use conversion tracking because we have not implemented consent mode, but
Wow.
I only heard that a few times, but it's so vague, and I don't think Google wants to tell what they're doing because they do not
Yeah.
want to make us smarter. It's a bit like SEO. They will not
Yeah.
say, oh, these are the things that you need to focus on. It's really create good content and everything will be fine.
Yeah. Wow. Look, these things are really important because as the world, like, it's we go in two directions. There's like the laws of data are changing because over the last 10 years we've seen how data's been abused, and then you never know what data people are capturing, and then so you got to give people the option to opt out of cookies, which basically says opt out of tracking essentially. But then you've also got on the other side Google wanting all the data for themselves but not sharing it with you. So you're actually doing this more for Google's sake than you, because yes, you might see conversion numbers, but they're seeing millions of other data points that would be valuable to them, not to you. Because essentially at the end of the day, when you run ads, you're paying for clicks or data, but the person who's actually getting the data is Google. You're paying to get Google data to resell to other advertisers rather than just to purely get for yourself. And that's the thing, is we're doing this for Google's best sake, not for ours or our clients.
Yeah, I just talked a few days ago with an American client, and I told him that I was thinking about this also a few days before. When Google did go to Wall Street, or when they did sell stocks, they sold their soul to the investors, and this is just how the system works.
Mm,
And on one side, it sucks for us because they want to do what is good for us so that we spend more money. But on the first place, it's the investors. But on the
yeah,
other side, for pension funds, right? Our pension funds are also in Europe investing a lot in companies, and the companies need to grow. They need to give dividend, for example.
yeah,
So it's just basically the system that, that we're living in,
yeah,
and also it creates a pension for us. But on the other side, it also sucks because it's all about creating more revenue, and
yeah.
if we are going to be a bit more disappointed, but it can create more revenue for them in the long term, they will do it, I think. So
Yeah.
it's just a system, and they're just following that system also.
Yeah. And that's, look, I'll, I've got a multiple views on that because I completely agree. They've got financial incentives that they need to hit certain financial KPIs for their shareholders, stakeholders. So they always need to be making more revenue. The only ways they make more revenue is by making more money by either getting more clicks, increasing the cost of clicks, or increasing advertisers.
Yeah.
And then the way they increase clicks is, hey, do all these other campaign types that are rubbish. Charge more per click, which is naturally they charge more every year, and then get more advertisers, which is, I feel like, why they're simplifying it. So it's more like simplifying Google Ads so then they can open the gates to more people. It's like, just put in your website, put in your credit card, and we'll do the rest. And
Yes. So I think there's still a lot of solutions how Google can make more money.
yeah,
So less budget going to marketing agencies, less budget going to tech guys that create data layers, for example.
yeah,
Less money going to feed companies. Just all the tools you can use. But on the other hand, they can't just, if they create that much power over the system, they can get more problems. So it's a balance they need to do.
yeah,
For example, I was always thinking, right, why don't they have a good feed tool in Merchant Center? Because
yeah. Of
it's
course,
horrible. And
yeah,
then I was like, but if they create that tool and the other companies go out of business, they have again more power, and that can work against them in court cases, right? So I was like, maybe they are just balancing every time. Is it worth it? Yes or no? Because I think they could make it easily. They're such a big company.
yeah. Well, that's the thing, and they'd have the right people to implement it. The other side of it is if they did implement a solution and that it was effective as the other companies, the thing is maybe only like 1 to 5, maybe 10% of companies, like for feeds, actually use a feed company. The rest would just plug in their Shopify to the merchant center and just go, that's it. So they're making money off people's inefficiency because the better your feed is, the higher quality, the more effective it is. You're actually being more strategic, which means you're probably going to be spending less to get a higher return.
Yeah.
They're wanting you to spend more to get the same return. So I think on one side, if they did it, that actually make people's feeds more effective, which would necessarily mean it's less profitable to them. At the same time,
Yeah.
the only, I keep saying at the same time, uh, the only difference is, look, at the end of the day, if Google tries to do everything, then every company is going to be relatively the same. Companies are always looking for the edge. And that's why people like advertisers are always needed because whilst they might take things away in the platform, there will be something outside the platform or something in the platform that people like you and me are always finding that little
Yeah.
like crack and then like almost like abusing it to get the big difference.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's why marketing agencies will always exist. There will always be some interpretation in the ads, right? Or activities, work activities will certainly change, and it already has changed a lot. Less time in the account, I would say. Just less time focusing on finding more keywords because you have broader phrase, for example. And yeah, it will change, but we will always be necessary.
Yeah.
And I think it's also important for PPC specialists and agencies to make sure that they have enough clients because I think you're gonna work less for clients, less hours, and you need more clients.
Yeah. I've noticed my role significantly shifting towards more of like a business advisor for clients because
Yeah,
not that advertising's easier, it's more simple, but with years of experience, it's become more simple. It's actually harder now because of all the settings, but I've moved from a few years ago, like I'm nearly doing 10 years of Google Ads now. I was just doing Google Ads. Then about 5 years ago, started doing Meta Ads as well, and now do landing pages because I realized like being too stuck on Google Ads can actually be so limiting, especially when you're serving small, medium sized businesses.
yeah,
Larger businesses, when you use Google Ads, they just need you to be Google Ads.
yeah,
But those smaller, and most businesses in the world are small businesses, mixing
correct.
it that within Meta or Facebook ads and the landing page, you actually have so much more control over the client's results than just Google Ads to their webpage. Like a landing page gives you control over conversion rates and the messaging, which means your results are better. And meta ads is just like most of the time, like meta ads perform better than Google ads. And I've been doing Google ads for 10 years, so I think I'm kind of good at it.
Mhm.
But after, like, I'm starting to see meta ads is significantly performing better now than Google ads because I think Google ads is just too expensive.
Yeah, it really depends on the company
Yeah.
and the industry also. If you are in a bad industry and you're already doing ads and other companies are not, and you're using conversions, you're measuring everything, you can stand out. But some businesses are so hard, right? They are
Yeah.
so competitive, and big companies are spending a lot on Google Ads, and yeah, maybe some companies are even so aggressive that they're just focusing more on the revenue. Because
Yeah.
I've done a poll a few months ago, and I was like, how many of the companies that you're helping as a specialist are just buying revenue? Are they really profitable, or are they just buying revenue, right?
Yeah.
So that's one other thing. Like, everybody's talking about those crazy results, and everybody's showing crazy results online. But I think a lot of the times companies are, they can certainly grow with the right tactic, but a lot of companies are just buying revenue.
Yeah, I agree. That's a really, really good insight, especially around the profit side of it. And look, that gets a bit more challenging because you've got to be doing either like you've got to have tools for that or you've got to be doing like deep data analysis because for lead generation, you know, you might have a cost per lead goal, but then if their sales system is ineffective, just because you're getting good cost per leads, they might be burning more leads. Or like for shopping campaigns, you might be hitting a return on ad spend goal, but it might be on a certain amount of products that actually are not profitable. So then it's weighted towards that. It's yeah, I think that was a really good point. What have you done in terms of that, or do you like tend to chat to clients about, it, or is that just something that you've observed?
So first of all, the company needs to be mature in the way that they know their profits. Some companies, they
Yeah,
will you will say, what is your margin? And they're like, yeah, we have a general ROAS of this. And then you're like, no, I see that you have 800 products, right? And I can imagine that every product has a different margin, maybe. So that's the first thing. The company needs to be mature enough to know the margins. Some companies, they do not really know the expenses, right?
yeah,
And when we know those margins, if we have enough products, enough conversions, and a lot of different margins, it's better to use POAS, for example. So
mm,
profit on ad spend. You
yeah,
can use tools like Profit Metrics for that, because they also have the server side solution. And Google's also coming with profit bidding. It's still in beta. I even saw that they're going to hold on the 19th of July um, webinar about profit bidding. And I think
okay,
that is the next step for Google, to focus on profit bidding. And if you want to have the server side solution and the real profit bidding, because with tool Profit Metrics, you can also give up other expenses. It's not only the cost of good, but also shipping costs, for example, or other costs that you
yeah,
can put it off. Yeah,
mm,
I would recommend every e-commerce company to use Profit Metric Post, to be honest, because
yeah,
it's way better. And the only thing you need to have is different margins, and a lot of e-commerce companies have that. Um, yeah, I had one case last week. That was a guy. He was only selling uh, two or three products with the same margin. Yeah, then I'm like, you can use ROAS. It doesn't matter.
yeah, yeah. And that's the thing. It's as time goes on with business and data, we've got to get more sophisticated because yeah, ROAS was good years ago, but then you realize that ROAS, if you've got a e-commerce company, you've got a diversity of products. Different products have different margins, and you need to be bidding based on margin, not just based on a general. And look, these things are hard, by the way. Like this is starting to get into like business intelligence and data and like understanding the data. Most business owners don't know it, and then you even pose it to them. It's actually too hard. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
sometimes they don't even want to give it, and they're like, oh, but I can't give it to Google, right? How can I trust Google? Or if I tell my margins, everybody maybe will know them. And other
yeah,
companies are really like, okay, here are my margins, and they know, like, I buy this in with so much volume. You can't steal it from me, right? So
yeah,
it also trust. You need to trust somebody, because
yeah,
like in the Netherlands, a lot of people, if you say what's your salary, they also will not tell it. And I think maybe
Yeah.
sometimes it's a bit the same, especially with smaller companies, maybe that they're like, no, no, I'm not gonna tell you my margins.
Yeah.
Or even sometimes with the clients list, you're like, oh, just send me all your clients and I will send
Yeah.
them to Google. And sometimes people, I can imagine they think like, oh, my clients, but
Yeah.
that's, I send it over email to you, and how is it working? And then I'm like, okay, you can also upload it yourself, for
Yeah.
example. So yeah, it's
I
also
have that with
interesting.
some finance clients. I think that is a real concern. And look, I actually think that's quite fair with
Yeah,
especially letting Google know your profit. Because if they know something's profitable, uh, who are they not just to go, when we know
this
that
is
Adrian's profit is he's making, you know, 50% on this, and after ad spend he's making, 35, let's just take an extra 2% off that and just put up the bids. And that's the thing, if they know your profit, they will squeeze as much as you can
mhm.
until there's just the thinnest margin, and they go, until it's not profitable, they'll keep squeezing. I think it's
that
reasonable, by the way, knowing
that's
Google.
what that's why people are also, you had those court cases where I don't I've read a few of them. I think Mike Ryan, um,
Oh
he's writing
yeah.
sometimes about it, explaining a bit more because it's really hard stuff, like how they're using those actions, for example. It's really deep, and I think some things are fair and they sound unfair sometimes, and other things are really unfair. Um, yeah, and that's also the thing with the profit, right? You're like, okay, Google is already secretly raising CPCs, and if I send them the profit and they know the profit, can they use that data? And what if
Yeah.
they will use that data? Like, if they know with profit bidding they can get more volume out of advertisers, more clicks,
Yeah.
why should they not raise the
Yeah.
money, right?
Yeah.
If you are getting more money out of Google Ads, maybe they're like, okay, let me take 1%. You're getting two, I'm getting one again. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, this is the future of advertising. Like it's really, it's not what's happening in the account per se, but it's like it's how Google and Facebook and all these other channels are operating. It's mainly Google, but Google and Facebook, and how like there's obviously laws of like how countries are setting, and that's one thing, but it's then how Google or Facebook kind of use those laws to kind of force change in their algorithms to actually make it more advantageous to them rather than you, and then try to present it in that way. And I think the challenge is moving forward is being really critical about these things. It is good to upload your profit, but then there will come a time where Google will use that and start picking away at it. John Moran from, I think he's from tier 11 now, but he was in Solutions 8. He did a video a few weeks ago basically showing how anytime he increased, like he had dates, and anytime he increased the budget, cost per click would increase as well. And there was like a direct correlation between that. And you could go like, oh, there's all these reasons. But then he did this thing where he turned off all his conversion tracking, and he had all the data in the back end still. And he noticed as soon as conversion tracking went off, cost per clicks dropped, got the same amount of clicks, the same amount of impression share was still the same. Cost per click dropped significantly and still got the same results. So when you feed Google your conversion data, it will actually start to like charge you more if it knows it's getting results, not based on is the click worth it. It's if it's getting you like results, we're just going to charge you more, a premium for it. And the data, I can send you the video if you haven't seen it by John. It's quite extensive, but it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, I heard about it, and I know that John is doing a lot of experiments, right? With he's even saying like, okay, put off PMax, let's put off on a smart shopping, or let's put on smart shopping besides, and let's do a different ROAS so that we can get another traffic source to it. And yeah, he's just doing really advanced stuff in there. It's sometimes even hard to understand for me, right? Like, how valid is this experiment? And then you're like, he's just in a gray area with all these experiments, and if it's working for him, and I'm sure he knows what he's doing, because yeah, he's just, yeah, levels above, right,
Yeah.
with all those experiments. And just really cool that he also shares those experiments, because
Yeah.
you could also
I
keep it for yourself.
Well, the thing is, that's the type, like a lot of people share stuff online, but I feel like he's one of the few people that show the data because obviously
Yeah, yeah.
works for a company or companies that have had a lot of clients who have the flexibility and they know him as the expert, so they trust him to be that person putting themselves out there, being like, look, we're doing this. And even though the client might be like, it's like, well, it's him. He's the type of person who does it. And the insights he's given, like over time, obviously, things that he used to say don't work now because Google's changed, but he's
Yeah,
always been on the forefront of it. And I just found
yeah,
this really interesting because it really goes to show, in the short term at least, we don't know the long term effect, that this data that we're giving Google is being used against us. So we may need to look for ways that we do not give Google data, um, assuming that like we don't give it conversion data so it doesn't use against us. Minimal data just so it optimizes. But I'm even noticing now a lot of the best reporting is like Google clicks, impressions, and cost in platform. And then I've got my own offline stuff with Google Sheets, and I'll do almost like my analysis all there because I'm like, if I give Google, because I know what the cost per clicks are, I know what the keywords that convert, I know what this is for lead generation, by the way, not
yeah,
e-commerce. But I just think lead generation, you've got more flexibility with e-commerce.
yeah.
It's
Yeah, the
really
margins are
dangerous, man.
so low sometimes, and then
Yeah.
also I had a lot of B2B clients also, and there are in old industries, right? So steel, for example, or concrete, for example,
Mm.
where a lot of companies are not using Google Ads right or not at all, and those are industries. Yeah, of course. Also with COVID, the prices of concrete went sky high. Prices
Yeah.
of steel, for example. But old-fashioned business sometimes where you do not have a lot of competition and where margins are good, they're way easier to get profitable. And
Yeah.
then with e-commerce companies, right? If the competition is so high, you need to really have a strong brand and a good conversion rate. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's so hard. And it's already hard. Margins already are
Yeah.
sometimes low. And then you even have people sending stuff back all the time.
That's it. And then fees on card fees and then return fees. That's like this is something I've chatted to some of my mates about is lead generation. Look, when we do e-commerce, we do it really well and we get good client results. But it's like you have more competitors in terms of the client having more competitors. And also as an agency, you've got more competitors because there are more people doing Google ads and Facebook ads for e-commerce than for
Yeah,
lead generation. But lead generation, you've actually got less agency competition. And also at the same time, the client has less competition. They usually charge more and their margins are higher. So
yeah,
sometimes that's why when I talk to people about e-commerce, I'm like, I do it well, but I don't know if I really want to double down on it that much because it's kind of like it's like a sinking ship. E-commerce is like a sinking ship that like is really hard versus lead generation. If you do it right, you can make clients millions of dollars with very minimal ad spend.
yeah. I have the same feeling with that just lead generation or B2B companies that are in the old-fashioned business. They are years behind, and you can just use the things for new companies to implement those. Only thing is, it will take time, and you need to really explain it. But they're just behind so much, and e-commerce is going so fast, and also
Yeah.
it's an environment where with fast fashion is that
I
really
was going to
something
say the
that
same. It's
that is
very
good?
fast. You need to be fast fashion, fast creative, fast like split test, fast everything versus some lead generation. You could run the same ad for a year and it
Yeah.
does not fatigue at all because it's like,
For example, in the Netherlands, you can't do local ads for plumbers right now anymore. They just fixed it, right? But if you are a plumber in the Netherlands, you can earn a lot of money, right? Because we just have a shortage of plumbers, and a lot of people want to work in the office. I think that's some of the reasons, maybe.
yeah.
And those are companies, right? If you run ads for them, I don't think you can run ads now because they changed something for local ads.
In
But
what sense? As in search ads? You can't run search ads or,
I think search ads can be done, but the local search ads or something else. They just changed it because something happened in the news, like with companies that were not fair with plumbing or something.
okay.
But
So as in when you link up your Google My Business and it shows in the maps
Yeah, I think
listing?
something like that is not allowed anymore, or it's in general search. I'm not
Okay.
sure anymore, but they just changed it. But it's just an example, right, of
Yeah.
an industry where uh, there's a lot of shortage and not a lot of people want to do it. And if you can run ads on that and can get employees, of course,
Yeah.
I think that's a way better industry than fashion, because fashion is so competitive, right? But if you
Yeah.
have the good brand, of course, it can work. It works fine, but it's so competitive.
But you got to build up a brand as well. And usually that's hard
You've
through
got
Google. It's usually meta ads or TikTok that would build up the brand that Google can
also
also leverage.
creating a brand costs money, and we
Yeah.
are performance marketeers. It's hard
Yeah.
to invest so much money, and it's the same with my LinkedIn. I've invested so much time in it, and then only now I'm really starting to get good results. Before I had good results, I got clients, but now I'm like, okay, now I really know that it's working.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. A lot of people who will listen to this will be people who have e-commerce clients. And the reality is like it's harder. Doing e-commerce is harder than lead generation. It
Especially
just
with all the actions and the Black Friday, and then they got new stock again, new products again. We need to test it. We need to test that. It's
yeah,
also a big opportunity to test yourself and to really go to the edge, 100%.
definitely.
Um, and it's a challenging industry, of course. But I think it's harder.
Yeah. The only
I talked to
advantage is shopping ads go really well, convert really well, and they're really cheap. Like they're still really cheap. Like I don't know why Google has not put the price up on shopping ads because shopping ads would convert multiple times higher than a search ad for e-commerce, yet it's like could be 5 to 10 times cheaper per click.
but I was thinking about shopping ads last week, and I was like, how crazy is it that you can't pick keywords for shopping ads? That
Ah
nobody
man.
is talking about it, and like you're seeing crazy keywords, and you're like, I only can exclude it, or I can influence it with titles and
Yeah.
descriptions.
It's
But
like SEO.
it's
It's like the
crazy how
SEO. You're like doing meta like title things because then you're like, oh, hopefully these keywords in the title influence all the description. Man, I know. It's crazy.
it's and no, not a lot of people are talking about it, like how crazy it is, because sometimes I see search terms and I'm like, how can this search term show up? And the problem is that they are getting, I think that Google is focusing more on e-commerce every year. They want to get more e-commerce traffic. They want to show those products faster and faster. So I
Yeah.
think you will see more trash search terms for sure in shopping. And yeah, I think shopping is gonna be harder because they really want to push it. And the way to push it, I think, is to do more general queries, I think.
Yeah. 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 I couldn't agree more. Adrian, we've been chatting for 45 minutes and we said we're going to do like half an hour to 45 because,
Yeah.
you're busy. It's the end of the day for me, mate. So this was really cool. I feel like the time's just flown by. So is there anything you want to share lastly or anything about yourself or anything at all?
Yeah, I would say, especially again now, I got this message again from the profit side, and I think profit bidding with profit metrics is it's gonna be such a big thing for companies, and I'm seeing Google focusing more and more on it, and I think they will slowly, because the beta is coming out soon, that's going to be in alpha. If you're a business and you're like, I don't know my profit margins, or your client does not know it, I think it's a good thing to start researching it, also for yourself, of course.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that's a big thing coming. And then also with the cart tracking beta, that you can see which product really sold. Because if I click on a mic, for example, and I buy a light, it
Yeah.
still shows the mic. So that's
Yeah.
another thing that I think those two things will become more of a push. And yeah, in general, the things we already talked about, they are already pushing enhanced conversions, and the Google tag, for example. So I think those things, really keep an eye on those two things.
Awesome, man. Well, Adrian, thanks for this today, mate. So how can people find you? Let the world know where they can find you.
Um, I've a big LinkedIn account, Adrian Dekker. I have a newsletter on LinkedIn. I have the paid newsletter that you can find on my own website. I also share news on my own website, adriandekker.nl still. Maybe I will switch to com.
Yeah.
I have TikTok. I think it's Adrian PPC. I have X, Adrian PPC. I have Instagram, but that's, yeah, you can follow me. It's just my personal stuff.
Mm.
And I'm also thinking about a YouTube channel maybe. I did a small, a few videos on how to implement GA4, how to exclude some things, but it takes more time, and I'm already a busy guy with creating
Yeah,
content on
yeah.
LinkedIn. So you need to choose your channels.
Yeah. Awesome, Adrian. Well, mate, this was a really great conversation. I hope everyone enjoys it. Go follow Adrian if you're already not, which I don't think many people watching this won't be. But, mate, this was great. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me. Wish you a good day and speak to you soon.
See you, mate.
See you. Bye.